Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 3 of the College Football Headlines podcast. I am Chandler, and I'm here with my great friend, Mr. Tate. How you doing, Tate?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. We got a pretty good show coming up. We got a lot more things to talk about for this episode than we've had for the last two. But first, I wanted to get your headlines for this week. So, what's been going on? What's been some of the
A
main things you
lot.
wanted to talk about? I know it's been a lot, man. We got a lot to catch up on for sure.
So to kind of go in order here, we had some 2026 QB dominoes fall very early. The contact period officially opened last week or a little bit over a week and a half ago now, and no hesitation. Top 3 quarterback will most likely be top 5 at the minimum at when it comes to National Signing Day next year for him. Bell, he's been eyeballing Texas forever. He went ahead and gave his pledge to Texas. We also had 4-star Brady Hart go ahead and commit to Michigan. Both Bell and Brady Hart are from the state of Florida. And another quarterback that ended up committing to the state of Florida, 4-star Brady Smigel, committed to Florida State. He is from the state of California. So the class of 2026, they are wasting no time at all.
They really are.
They're ready to commit.
It's really cool to see too. It's well, especially whenever you think about Juju being one of those quarterbacks and how interesting his process and his recruitment has been so far. And it's getting pretty interesting if you think about it, because he just had that visit in Colorado, and
Man,
I mean, it looks like it went pretty well. I'm not gonna lie to you. Let me get our picture of Juju up real quick, because I mean, if you see right here, I mean, it looks like it may be perfect timing. I mean, he's handing him some car keys. Our picture's a little blurry, so I can't exactly tell what car it is, but I can't imagine I can afford it. So, shout out to CU, man. But how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the momentum that Colorado may be gaining with Juju? And there's also some other recruits. It's not just Juju, but
right. Dude, Colorado had a handful of, talented prospects in this weekend. This is arguably the most important weekend for Deion Sanders to kind of push aside the narrative of high school recruiting being an issue or a worry, and high school recruiting being not in his strengths or forte to the outside people like us. But Juju Lewis was the headliner for this weekend at Colorado. Went straight after he competed in the Elite 11, won the day 2. I think it was the Pro Day Passing Award. He won that. But I started off very quiet, to be honest with you. I was a little, surprised with how quiet it was, because it was so loud getting towards the visit, because they were so excited to get him to Colorado for his official visit. It's his last scheduled official visit for the July dead period. And I mean, as of right now, Deion Sanders has had one major get every signing day, whether it goes from Travis Hunter to Cormani. This year, it could easily be Juju. So it's going to be a battle to the end for Juju Lewis between USC, Colorado, Auburn. They just had his official visit before Colorado. So I'm just gonna kind of sit back. There's not a whole lot of intel out there right now. A lot of it's just behind closed doors, and the ball's in Juju's court. But whoever or wherever Juju goes, they're getting a special talent, and the future is bright.
For sure. And if you've been following his visit to Colorado, I mean, they've been pulling out all the stops, and they even got this man a burger. A burger. Juju's Precision Pass Burger.
Let me say this. I did tweet yesterday I was joking around with some people. I'm on the East Coast, so obviously it was more towards like 11 o'clock or something. I don't know, but Juju was still not pictured with the burger, and I was like, man, is he gonna eat the burger?
I mean, he has to. Maybe
And
like
so
you have to
The
eat the burger.
Sink is a legendary restaurant in Boulder. It's been there forever. It's your hole in the wall college, just sports bar joint. I think I walked past it. I've only been to Boulder once. Boulder is beautiful, but legendary place, and they made the precision pass burger for Juju this weekend, and Juju did go to the Sink last night. He was pictured with the burger in 2 side items. Now, he ate the burger, I don't know. I have not seen anything, nor do I really care, but Juju did, in fact, lay eyes on the precision pass burger and probably ate the burger. So shout out to the Sink for doing that and, letting us get a little kick and laugh out of it. But it's good recruiting, man. I mean, the whole city is invested in Juju and in Dion, and, they don't want to look at rock bottom anymore, which, I mean, no team does. So
Yeah.
let's see how it plays out, man.
I think it's important for the city to especially show love, because that it kind of reminds me of how Nebraska was with Rayola, right? Like they had I think he went to a basketball game, and like the whole stadium was cheering for him and stuff like that. And I will say Georgia did try to do that with Arch at a football game, didn't work out in the end. But I think it's important that you try to show like love from the city to
You got to
somebody.
feel comfortable where you are too. 'Cause
Exactly.
it's not just about
Exactly.
football. I mean,
If you can get that city and that school behind them early and like show them that, and you're able to show that love that the city can provide for them and that support, that's really important. Like that could easily sway somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So. But not really going far from the Juju conversation. We have to talk about USC, and they have been trending in a direction not many want to go because so far I'm not saying that Juju is leaving USC, but he had a good visit to Colorado. Now, sometime last night, I don't know what time it was, but Lincoln tweeted out, the USC peace sign, and one of their recruiters did too. Who knows what that means? I have no idea. But what also has happened is Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson has decommitted. So they've had quite a few mishaps so far. Not to just hound on USC, but it is something that we need to talk about. And it does kind of, just for any program, whether it was mine or a rival of mine or anything, it is not a fun place to be or have to go through.
Hey, Chandler, where are those 2 defensive linemen from?
Georgia.
They're from the state of Georgia?
I think so. I do.
Where's Juju from?
Let me see. Hold on. If you take the 1 minus the Georgia.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Well, look, Juju, ain't got to worry about Juju coming to Georgia because he already said he don't want to go here. He already said, and not to quote him verbatim because I don't know what exactly he said, but it's something like they already got their QB. So
right. That was very respectful of Ryan Montgomery, 4-star quarterback, phenomenal kid. He went ahead and committed to Georgia, and I like seeing, nobody ever like tries to take somebody's spot or like do that, but just like, I don't know, it was a good genuine comment from Juju, but seeing the steps USC is taking with people in the state of Georgia, it's probably not very good. On top of this, they had Elijah Griffin, the number 1 defensive lineman in the country, from the state of Georgia on an official visit. They're working hard because, Lincoln Riley finally split ways with Alex Grinch after probably three seasons overdue at the least. But it's good to see Lincoln at least giving an effort to the defensive side of the ball. And then on top of these two defensive line players, we got some momentum going for Hilton Stubbs, also from the Southeast region, state of Florida. There is some worry and concern around his commitment and some optimism. A team that thought they were in a good position to get him before is going to come back around and get him.
Who would that be?
June is the month for the Gators. And it's not as big as last June. Last June was crazy. I mean, I'm talking like crazy for Florida. But Billy Napier is looking out to finish the month of June strong. There's momentum gaining for Hilton Stubbs to flip his commitment to Florida. He just had his OV there. He said Florida's always been neck and neck with USC. Obviously, signing day is not till November, but keep an eye out for Hilton Stubbs and the Gators in the near future.
Do you want to go ahead and talk about that Florida momentum since it's a topic that we have? And that was one of the players that we have?
Absolutely.
All righty. Let me pull that up real quick. We don't have a picture for them for this one, so let me take that down. Whoops. But
and like Chandler was saying, Florida's got some momentum trying to close out the month of June strong. They're trending very, very, very good for 4-star wide receiver Joshua Moore, 4-star wide receiver Vernell Brown III, flipping Hilton Stubbs from USC, and they just landed a commitment from 3-star tight end 6'5", 240 out of Madison, Mississippi, Micah Jones. Very solid, old school tight end. Doesn't have all the athleticism in the world, but you don't really need to at tight end. So it's good to see Billy. He's got all the chips in against him, and he's still chipping away. So it's going to be a really interesting narrative to keep looking at and have on your radar this season. If he can shun and defeat all the stuff he has up against him.
And I miss whenever Georgia and Florida was like a top 15 matchup. I want that back. Obviously I don't want them to beat us, but I want it back. It was always a fun rivalry. WLOCP. I'll call it that all my life. I don't care what the big TVs call it. I'll always call it that. But they have been trending, really in the right direction. It's just good to see for competition wise.
Right.
As much as I want to win, it is good for competition.
Right, because I mean, you hate to see your team lose. You hate to see a brand that was once so good not where it needs to be. And Florida's gone through some bumps in the road, from McElwain to Mullen, Muschamp to Napier. So let's hope the light is near.
I should stay away from the M's.
I know. I literally noticed that when I was saying that. I was like, M.
It's just if anybody
McElwain, Muschamp, Mullen.
So I couldn't be the head coach.
Meyer.
So let's cut that out. Well, that one worked out. That one was okay.
Yeah, that one did work out, but then the other ones didn't. Not as well.
That is true. So staying on teams that have gained momentum, there was just another quarterback that had committed. Now, this one did not go in Florida's favor. And if you ask any Florida fan, they believe that they're in every single recruiting post. Like Florida gets brought up in every one of them. But,
over Florida.
Yeah, over Florida. That's what it was. I couldn't think of what it was. Thank you. But 4-star Antoine Hill has committed to Memphis over Florida. How big would you say this is for Memphis and Group of 5 teams? And would you say that
huge, because we saw earlier in the offseason, obviously FedEx is from the city of Memphis. It's where the CEO is. It's where they're headquartered. And I don't know if it was the CEO or the CEO's son, but FedEx gave the University of Memphis a around $25 million donation for the start of to help them in the NIL era with recruits, transfers, whatever you need, just to help them compete and make their way up, as there's this kind of gap forming of colleges that are able to adapt, and then some that are locationally screwed over, like Washington State and Oregon State. Like, that's just strictly on location.
Mhm.
And then you got teams that are just, ready to grow, like Memphis. Memphis had the fourth passing yard quarterback in the nation last year, Seth Hannigan, number 4, right behind Carson Beck. Had over 3,000 yards passing, had like a 31-9 touchdown to interception ratio. So Memphis was a very quiet, very solid group of 5 team last year, and Seth returns this year. So with the playoff being expanded to 12 teams, if Memphis could get the G5, one of the bids, that would impact their whole brand
Mhm.
so much. It
Mhm.
would do so good for them. I mean,
Well,
they've had up and downs in basketball with Penny, but just it would stretch so much.
mhm. I whenever I made my Boise State pick in our first episode that had our top 25, the website that also had Boise State listed as like a team to really watch out for that group of 5 pick, they also had Memphis. Memphis was the second team. So they've been doing really well, especially now. I mean, to get a 4-star quarterback like that might move mountains for them,
Like, you
especially
got to
as
think
a
about it. They're in the AAC.
Mhm.
UCF is not in the AAC anymore. UCF got so big, they're in the Big 12.
Mhm.
Second year in the Big 12. Tulane is still in the AAC. SMU no longer in the AAC. They're in the ACC. So that has really created some leeway for them to separate and gather some, foundation and some stock to show that they are better than the rest.
Mhm.
So I would
So
definitely
what you're
go ahead.
telling me is Memphis to the ACC? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, it could happen, man. And we got
I
Cal. We got teams that are on the Pacific Ocean in the Atlantic Coastal Conference. So,
Mhm.
anything is possible these days. Never rule anything out, but Memphis will be a power 4, power whatever. They will be a power conference team very, very, very soon.
They need to. I think they deserve it. They need to. But to keep going on here, we're gonna travel a little north, and we're gonna go visit our good friends of Michigan. Now, Michigan just got Donovan Johnson. He's a 4-star running back. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think about Michigan's momentum? Because if you think about them as a team, right, they've lost, especially from last year, they lost a lot of people. They were, I don't know who made this ranking, but it said that they were 130th out of 134th in terms of returning production. So they have a lot of pieces to replace, a lot of talent that they're going to have to fill gaps in. Their defense is still there, and that was the main point of their team. So I don't think they're going to fall off the face of the earth, but they do have a lot of stuff to replace, a lot of people to replace on the offense. So what do you think about Michigan and the direction that they're going right now?
Like, I think Sharon Moore made it an emphasis this weekend that, we saw him, and I don't think Michigan was heavily doubted with the talent that they had last year in the games that they were playing, but it was very spontaneous. It was a rare situation where you saw a guy take over for a head coach as an OC multiple times within a season.
Mhm.
And Sharon Moore proved time after time after time, not necessarily that he was ready at that point, but that when it came down and if he was called up to the table, he could get the job done. And he did. He adapted. I mean, they ran the ball like 31 straight times on Penn State or something like that. But once again, people were doubting Sharon Moore on the recruiting trail. They're like, oh man, the Harbaugh name is such a big name in football. Losing Jim Harbaugh and what he brings to Michigan as a legendary quarterback and all that was a little bit worrying to some people. And then Sharon Moore doesn't even go out and take a transfer quarterback. A lot of people were puzzled. And then people were like, I think he may struggle to recruit in high school. Not so fast. As the great Lee Corso would say. Not so fast, my friend.
Not so fast, my friend.
But Donovan Johnson commits to Michigan, 4-star. He goes to IMG Academy. He's also from the state of Georgia. Georgia is loaded with talent. But great pickup for Michigan. You got to build year in, year out on the recruiting trail. They also are trending for 2 other offensive skill player targets. 4-star wide receiver Andrew Marsh and 4-star tight end Andrew Olish. So 2 Andrews. And the Donovan Edwards era switching to Donovan Johnson. A lot of similar names, but Michigan is, not the big mighty national champs that they were last year. Like you hinted at, there was a lot of major pieces that left, but that defense is still Big Ten, big defense. Like week 2 versus Texas, I do not expect Texas to march down the field on the first drive and unless it's like a trick play or something like that. I expect it to be a very slow and tactically slow putting your cards out type of game.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. And well, I mean, if you think about it too, Texas is also a team that, they've lost some production on the offense. So it's going to be an interesting game for sure. As much as I want to just say Texas is going to win outright, I mean, Texas has lost some pieces too. So that game in week 2, especially early in the season, it's in Ann Arbor, right?
Big noon kickoff.
And at noon, I mean, look, if I've ever learned 3 things, anything can happen early in the season and anything can happen at noon. Anything. So we'll see. We will see. That'll be an interesting game. We may have to stream that game on Twitter. We might have to stream and watch that game on Twitter if we're at home. Little plug, by the way. Little future plug. But to keep it in coaches that we thought would struggle with recruiting.
Oh man.
I say we move on to this team that's a little down south, to the west of myself.
I thought the mighty had fallen.
I mean, I did too. I'm not gonna lie to you. Which I didn't think they would struggle this year. I thought the years after is where we would see the a little backtracking. But some would say that Alabama is having a cold summer, and boy, have they been hot in their cold summer. I mean, it's been truly ridiculous right now what Mr. DeBoer is doing. Excuse me. I said DeBoer. Talking about this guy. DeBoer got DeBoers. But with Alabama heating up, how do you feel about them as a program and what they're doing right now on the trail, especially with how people consider them that they were just going to fall off the face of the earth and all this stuff, and B, the job that Kalen has done so far?
I think Kalen has. Okay, let me answer the first question first. Sorry about that.
No, you good.
I think Alabama as a program is, they've got some question marks on offense. Jalen Milroe played in a very vanilla offense last year. It was, it's not your typical Alabama. You got a big power back, or there wasn't a whole lot of points. There wasn't a whole lot of consistency with that offense. So we all know and we've all seen that Jalen Milroe has been nonstop, preparing for the season. It's like there's no tomorrow.
Mhm.
And I'm really intrigued to see how he's adapted as a passer, not just the deep ball, but just overall, crossing routes, curl routes. And with his speed and athleticism, Kalen DeBoer runs an air raid type system. I mean, if you go look at it, there was a game where Michael Penix had 52 pass attempts. That is not what you expect to see out of Jalen Milroe. And
No.
I don't think either one of us expect to see that number come from Jalen Milroe this year.
Look, let me tell you right now, if he comes out and he throws 40 plus passes week 1, hey, watch out. Watch out.
I was looking at it one night, and I'm pretty sure on like the average total of pass attempts per game for Michael Penix Jr. was like 37 and a half. Like it was absurdly pass heavy, which that's the system he's run. I mean, he's had his offense. I mean, he wins. Kalen DeBoer is like what 100 and like
100 and
17.
good. That's what I call it. 100
He's got like
and
an
good.
insane winning percentage. I mean, no matter if it's in NAIA or whatever you want to call it, Division II, it's a smaller school. I mean, his like second loss or third loss at Washington was the college football national championship.
Mhm.
I mean, they beat
He's elite.
Oregon when they were doubted time and time again, both seasons.
Mhm. I doubted him that second time for sure.
I doubted them both. I thought Oregon was so ready to get back revenge. I thought it was like inevitable. And Kalen DeBoer, he did it again. So, I mean, you really can't have a much better resume in terms of winning than Kalen did coming to Alabama.
Mhm.
But the pieces in the structure that Alabama had that he, came in with this new era. I mean, Alabama's not going anywhere. That script A recruits for itself and the next self and the next self. And that front seven defensively, still there.
Yep.
They got Keon Sabb from the portal, safety from Michigan.
Got Caden Proctor back.
Got Caden Proctor back. I guess he never left. I don't know what you want to call it.
He just wanted to go watch Caitlin.
He went home for a couple minutes.
Yeah, he wanted to go see Caitlin. That was all he wanted to do.
Right.
Then he came back.
But I mean, man, they are on fire. I mean, they flipped Keelan Russell from SMU. Ole Miss was going after him. Florida was going after him.
Who also just won the
Elite 11
right?
MVP. So, I mean, to add more momentum to it, wins the Elite 11 MVP. Super humble guy. And then after Keelan committed, I mean, they have momentum. They got 4-star offensive tackle #1 in California, Jackson Lloyd. They got Micah DeBose. They got Michael Carroll. And they got 3-star Mal Waldrep. So they're building the trenches in this 2025 class. I mean, fast.
I believe Micah was committed to Georgia and then decommitted. I could be wrong about that.
I cannot remember that off the top of my head.
I think that happened. I could be completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet about that.
It's all right. But
let me check while you're talking.
Yeah, go ahead. On top of those offensive linemen that they committed, that they've got to commit, I mean, 5-star offensive tackle Ty Haywood has been RPM, crystal balled, whatever you want to call it, predicted by multiple experts over at On3 to Alabama. That would be a massive statement from Kalen DeBoer that Alabama has gone nowhere. And then on top of that, right before we hit record, this recruitment is really confusing. That is my 5-second synopsis of this. Caleb Cunningham, who I don't think this recruitment is anywhere near over. 5-star receiver out of the state of Mississippi. Got predicted to Alabama by Chad Simmons and Steve Wiltfong over at On3. and he was thought to be a Mississippi State, silent commit. There was a lot of optimism earlier in the winter that Caleb Cunningham was going to verbally commit to Mississippi State. He ended up not doing that. Had a very quiet spring. Took some visits. Interestingly enough, he's told a couple of teams that they're number one. Like after his Auburn visit, 2 weeks ago, he said Auburn was number one. Comes off a Bama visit. Bama's number one. So I don't, a lot of hooks and ladders, whatever you want to call them, being thrown around in this commitment. But I think this one goes at least till October, if not signing day.
Mm-hmm. And for Michael DeBose, he decommitted from Georgia on December 22nd, 2023.
Oh, so you were right. Good job.
Yeah. That Hayes tweeted that out. I thought I'd seen that. I couldn't remember, but I thought I'd seen that.
And then the last thing about Bama. Sorry to cut you off. No, you go first. You go first.
Well, no, I was just gonna shout out Kalen DeBoer. I was one of the people that had said that you don't want to be the guy right after Nick to leave. And just to me, I think Kalen so far has done a great job. Obviously, games had to be played, and he hasn't even. They haven't even stepped foot on the field yet for the first game. So a lot of things can happen from now to then, and from when the season starts. But so far, it's looking like it's going to be pretty good, and it was a really good hire. So shout out to Bama, shout out to Kalen. I think they've done a great job so far. Again, games had to be played, but so far, really good. As somebody who was in the crowd of, you don't want to be the first guy, you want to be the guy after the guy. I think I said that right. But shout out.
Yeah.
Now, what were you saying?
My bad. That was a perfect way to sum it up. I was going to say the same thing. But to end the show today, we have a hot topic. Former basketball star Ja Jackson. He declared for the NBA draft in April. I never saw anything that he officially withdrew. But 2 weeks ago, he popped up at FSU, taking reps at offensive line in a camp. And then from there, it was told that he had a visit with Florida the next week. Then he went, I think he had something scheduled with Georgia too. And then he went back to FSU. So what do you think about a former basketball phenom, all of a sudden just turning and, trying to hop on the football field? How do you think that's going to go?
Okay, think about it. He's 6'9", right? I'm pulling up his page right now. 6'9", 300 pounds. He's a center. He's already a 3-star. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I think it could work. Honestly, you get somebody that big, all you have to do is to really get them. If he's played football in his life, I think he has a chance. I think he has. I also think it's cool to see, somebody that was really popular in one sport make the transition to the other or to another. What's his name? He went to Miami. He played basketball. Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham played basketball.
Oh, yeah.
Jimmy Graham played basketball and then decided to give football a go. Ended up being a great tight end for the Saints. There's also Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward played both. He was in the NBA and NFL. I'm 75% sure I'm right about that. So, shout out to him too. But it's really cool to see. It's cool to see the athleticism of somebody to be able to play one sport, especially being 6'9", and then you're 6'9", 300, and you're like, yeah, I can play basketball. But wait, I can also play football. I've said it 6 times. It's really cool. I love to see that. I love to see somebody be able to adapt. That's
right. And it's not typically it's not a closed door, but usually, Ja, he was playing for Overtime Elite, that has a big NBA development. That's a meant to be a pro environment, a pro league. You know, everything about it is trying to get you ready for the National Basketball Association. And, you know, his NBA hopes and aspirations are nowhere near the end if he wants to go back. But if he ends up going this route and transitions to football, I mean, it'll be a really neat story.
Mhm.
ESPN will definitely do some neat documentary on it. But
Mhm.
it'll be cool to see if that opens the door for other people, because you always think about basketball players playing football, like LeBron. Like, what if LeBron kept playing football and like stuff like that?
And he was good too.
He
Like
was
he was really good. Which
so.
it's also this is like one of the um it's definitely one of the different type of transitions because normally you see like a like somebody transition to play a wide receiver. Like you said, maybe a point guard go play wide receiver, or just somebody that was always on the ball or ball heavy and they just really athletic and they go play wide receiver. You don't normally see somebody go from playing basketball to playing on the offensive line. That's that's new. I can't recall whenever I've seen that. So shout out to because AI also was really good in football, but he went to basketball, but he played quarterback. So I can't recall another time where somebody has went from basketball to football to play offensive line. It's really
Mhm.
cool though. It's really cool.
So it'll be interesting. There's no really time frame around when he like wants to commit. I'm assuming like there's some sort of goal that he would be enrolled at a school this upcoming fall,
Mhm.
just like because he'd be a freshman academically
Yep.
and stuff like that. So it's just a little hot topic, interesting thing to look at. And, um, you know, if he develops, then good for him.
Mhm.
Really neat story and, you know, just never give up type of thing. So that'll do it for today's show. Thank you all that tuned in. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all of our socials. Chandler's got his in the description. I got mine in the description. We're on Instagram, Twitter, soon to be
Mhm.
TikTok. Facebook's old.
Yeah. MySpace. I think Facebook is falling into the realm of MySpace. It's getting there. It's getting there. I mean, it's kind of already been there for me, but
Right.
it's really getting there.
All right,
But
but make sure you're tuned in this next upcoming week. Recruiting, the dominoes are falling, fireworks are flying. So make sure you're followed on the socials to make sure you're updated. And until next time, guys, peace.
peace.